Another day stuck in the endless void. Even with all my magical prowess, I have yet to escape. But there is one last thing I have yet to attempt. A blood sacrifice. Business Brad, get over here and... another one of those copy reads Daryl and Ben keep sending me. If I read them, they provide Brad and I with snacks and, well, I am getting the tummy grumbly, so I guess here we go. Are you addicted to art? Can't seem to kick the habit? Well, then you should join us on Art Anonymous. Again, that's my name, but also the name of a podcast where a digital and traditional sculptor talk about art, the meaning of life, and everything in between. Our AA meetings will be sure to aid you in your artistic quest. All, of course, with me, ever present, invisibly guiding their thoughts and discussions. They do not fact-check themselves, ever. Submit questions and topics you would like to see discussed on a future episode of Art Anonymous in the comments section. Now to be graced with those delicious snacks they call Oreos. Get off of me, Brad. No, they're my cookies. Stop it. I told you, they're for me. I read the copy. I get the cookies.
Okay. Prompts. You go ahead. Or I guess we have to introduce ourselves.
Yeah, we gotta say our names first.
Yeah. Let's just fucking skip that.
Yeah, let's just skip just the whole first part of this thing.
Yeah, let's start in the middle, work our way back.
Yeah, I think
and then jump to the end. Do like Star Wars.
Yeah. Welcome to episode, I guess 4.
Yeah.
Would it be?
I think this is 4.
Yeah, this
welcome to episode 17 of Art Anonymous.
Yeah, we'll start at 17 and work our way down because that's all the episodes that we're actually doing.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm Ben, the digital sculptor of the group.
And I'm Daryl, the traditional sculptor of the group.
And I have a little bit of a cold going on, so my throat's a little screwed up right now, so sorry about that. But I'll do my best and try not to cough directly in the microphone.
Yeah. And I will do my best to cough directly in the microphone to add a nice balance.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Non-coughing and coughing.
Okay, so for each cough that I do, you have to cough at least once for that.
Directly towards the microphone.
Directly towards the microphone.
Away from, like, in front of the screen protector there. The wind screen.
All right. So we start off each podcast, or at least we try to. One time we forgot. We're going to try not to forget for the future. We start off each podcast by giving a little bit of an art prompt.
Yeah, art prompt.
Art prompt, that's right. I think last time, I can't remember what our last one was, but we've had some good ones in the past.
Yeah.
As long as Business Brad doesn't come and get in our way, I think we can get some pretty good art prompts here.
Business Brad.
The spirit of Art Anonymous is with us, and I think we're ready to convene our meeting.
Session?
Our church.
This is evolving much quicker than I thought it would.
All right, Daryl, so what's your prompt?
My prompt? I'm gonna go with medieval theme stuff.
Okay, so I have to say a medieval word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I want you to say a word, an adjective that maybe a hippie might say.
A hippie adjective.
Yeah.
What a very specific.
Okay, no,
that's fine.
that was too specific.
No,
okay,
I can
just give me a hippie word. Just a hippie word. It doesn't have to be an adjective.
Okay, hippie word. All right,
I have a medieval word.
Okay, I got mine.
Mine's
pretty easy.
I can't stop thinking about hippie words.
Really? You have some vendetta against hippies?
Yeah, real deep down. All right. Here, I got a good one, I think.
Okay, on the count of 3?
Yep.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Lord.
Far out.
Lord far out?
Lord far out, man. Is that a hippie word?
Yeah,
I guess I
for
like,
sure.
Like a hippie saying.
Yeah.
Like
it's hyphenated for sure.
Totally, man. I wanted to say totally, man, but then I was like, that's 2 words.
Yeah, but maybe far out is as well.
I know, far out is, but it's more of a phrase.
Yeah, okay, alright.
And yours is Lord?
Yeah, so...
Lord far out.
Lord far out.
Some, like, weed-smoking lordling.
Yeah, he's up on his throne, instead of a throne made out of swords, like in Game of Thrones, it's a throne made out of some doobies.
Yeah, tons of doobies.
Yeah, just covered. The world's biggest doobies.
His crown is, like, dreadlocks braided like in crown shape.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see some art prompts.
Art.
Or I guess some art,
renderings.
Yeah, some renderings, some drawings, some paintings, some love of Lord Far Out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited.
I think that's a pretty good one. That's probably our best one thus far.
Yeah, I think it has many possibilities.
Interpretation is very high on this one.
Yeah.
And I use the term very high in a very specific way there.
Yeah.
All right, Daryl. So today we're going to be talking about a question that was sent in to us from one of our Art Anonymous users, or Art Anonymous himself, maybe. We're not entirely sure.
Yeah.
But the question says, what do you think about digital art? Specifically, what do you think about digital art phasing out more traditional art forms, similar to how very few people sculpt with stone anymore?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I guess talking about, I don't know if maybe they're referring to maybe like drawing or painting and sculpting like you do in traditional sense now, and how digital. I don't know if maybe I feel like drawing with a pencil will exist forever, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it won't be.
Yeah.
As technology progresses.
I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about even sculpting. I mean, even looking at like a digital sculptures, you can 3D print stuff, and it is really cool. Like you have some 3D printed stuff on your desk.
Right.
But in the sense of it replacing any traditional styles or traditional formats, I don't think so. I think they're two different things, and I think the tactility of traditional sculpture or even painting are so very different from digital that people will always want them. Like seeing the Mona Lisa, for instance, in person versus seeing it in on a screen, it's two very different things. Or the
Statue of David, which is something we were just talking about. So I just got back from Italy and I saw the Statue of David, and no picture gives it justice. So
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think there's a sense of perfectness that comes from digital art with like the symmetry and the smoothness and like everything that you can do. You can really get down to like every single detail, make everything perfect, which is awesome. But at the same time, it's a pro and at the same time a con, because there is the thing of like originality and a sense of the person's hand in a sculpture, and like a sense of like, oh, like it might be quote unquote a mistake to some people, but to most people it's like like look how he did this one thing that like sets his work apart from everything else that anyone else ever does.
Little small things that add character to everything. What if they're, I guess, like thinking very, very far in the future, like hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, to where the line between digital and traditional art blends, and maybe digital art as it exists now is replaced by VR or whatever we have in the future.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. I don't know.
And what's beyond VR, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly. What's the next thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if it does, it'll be a sadder world for me. And obviously, I'm a traditional artist, so that makes sense. There's just something about the skill of being able to make something in real life with your hands right then. Just fucking, well, I guess. But just like, here it is, like, just like not like instantaneously, but
because
like,
it's very slow.
Yeah, exactly. But like, and like I could make a bowl in a couple minutes, like, and have a bowl, and it wouldn't be finished. I'd have to fire it, of course. But like, the skill of being able to do that, if that's lost to the world for forever because it's replaced by a digital replication of that, it feels like it's a replacement, but it feels like it doesn't replace the whole thing entirely, and that kind of makes me sad. Like it's a faux.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. There's this line where you said they're so completely different that thing will always exist. Like the question said, very few people sculpt with like stone anymore. Mm-hmm. Nobody's making a new David, right?
Yeah.
But it's still totally possible that, you could probably count 100 people that are sculpting with stone right now on planet Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably not that many. Maybe more than 100.
Probably more than 100, but
right,
yeah, definitely not.
Definitely not very many.
Yeah.
Not anywhere near the people that are sculpting digitally or sculpting with clay.
Yeah, and I think that's the primary difference. I think previously the reason stone faded out was because life used to be a lot less busy. So like if you were an artist back in the day, that was your job. You did that.
And it was a lot more permanent.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But you did it like 12 hours a day, every day for your life. So of course, like stone, something which takes a long time to carve, and something which takes an extremely long time to master because you can't make any mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Not really. It was able to be practiced more widely because that is something that people had time to invest in. I think it wasn't necessarily a technological change which stopped making people carve out of stone. I think it was a shift in lifestyle where nowadays it's you have to work and you have to do this and there's all these things trying to distract you and take away from you. Or take away time from you and
You have to be on Reddit 3 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
Very busy life.
And you have all these friends and you're so connected and all these people, and back in the day it was just sort of like the 50 people you knew. And
You sculpted rocks and you
Yeah.
ate rocks, I think we've said before.
Yeah, exactly. You
It's a
sculpted
very,
rocks.
very limited palette of food and
and
pastimes.
activities. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's a good thing that it was like that. So you can have these like great arts, but also a bad thing because I'm sure their lives weren't that great. Or their quality of life wasn't that great compared to ours. But I don't see anybody getting rid of clay just because it is something you can make sculptures out of much faster. And then you have people who are doing molds and mold making, and that stuff is essentially instantaneous. You could have a mold of a human form. You could cast directly off a human, and then out of plaster, and then recast that in a different material. And in a day, you could have a whole arm or a whole leg. You could do it actually a lot faster and a lot more accurate than digital sculpting, just because you're literally pulling off of a real person. So I don't think traditional art form is really going anywhere. I think that it has a lot of tactility that digital art can't provide, and I think it just feels right. It feels more right. Not that I don't like digital art. I love digital art. Digital art's amazing. But seeing a sculpture on a computer versus seeing the sculpture in real life and walking around it and
or holding it.
It's a whole experience.
Yeah, it's different. I'm imagining a time like way off in the future. Are you familiar with like the big Kuka drill arms?
I think so.
I believe they're called Kukas. I might be remembering that incorrectly. But I used to work at a company that had one, and essentially you could get a big giant block of foam. Depending on the density of the foam, you could carve more detail, and depending on the size of your drill bit, you could obviously carve more detail. But you could upload or have a 3D file on a computer attached to the program running the drill, and then it would carve out of the foam the 3D object. Mm-hmm. I'm imagining like a place way off in the future where we have like some blend in technology where like I'm sitting in a chair hooked up to like my VR sculpting whatever, and I'm like using my hands and all sorts of tools, and in the other room is like this thing actually being sculpted and modified in real time.
Yeah.
And like I have tactile feedback. Like who knows? But I still totally agree with you that the old way of doing things is not going anywhere. There will always be some people that are going to do that.
Mm-hmm. And I think when it comes to like learning how to be an artist, a lot of it is stemmed from the tradition. Well, all of it essentially is stemmed from the traditional format. So like the rules and the styles and the different ways to make things, they all come from the traditional format. And of course digital takes that and says, okay, now we're going to do this thing that was done here and do it on a computer. And things change. You have software and things like that. There's a lot of different stuff that you have to learn, and then
which is absolutely true, because I use traditional sculpting techniques in my digital sculpting and stuff that people are like, where'd you learn how to do that? I'm like, watched like a real sculpting video on YouTube of someone sculpting some eyes and learned from them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's. I think that's going to be our teachers for a very, very long time. There's been thousands of years of people looking at figures and being like, okay, like how do the eyelids work, and how does the flesh change and the angles change as it gets to the actual eye surface of the eyeball, and like all that sort of thing. So all the information comes from that traditional format, and I don't see it going anywhere. But in the future, what you were saying with the VR thing, what would be the medium in the other room being made by the machine?
Who knows? Like, I don't know. I was just giving an idea of what could possibly exist in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe it's actual traditional clay. I don't know.
Well, the question that I would have then is, why would you need that? Why not just go in the other room?
Right?
And
Well, maybe the thing that's like forming the clay, you have a lot more power and tools that you can control over here. Sort of like, you have your big old Gundam over in the other room that's sculpting for you, and he's got his drill arm.
That'd be pretty cool.
Hey, you're right, yeah, Gundam.
Especially if it was large, too.
Yeah.
If you were sculpting large.
Why don't we just need to make some big old Gundams.
Yeah.
To not fight each other,
but
but just to make real good art. And
yeah.
What's the
Gundam
movie
art
where the
project.
people have to like simpatico up inside of the robots and like and they fight the giant kaijus?
Evangelion?
No, not the anime. No. The
I don't
real
know.
movie.
Oh, the movie. Pacific Rim?
Yeah, the Pacific Rim Job. That's right. That's the one.
Yeah.
Where they sync up and they're like, yeah, we got to move together.
Mm-hmm. It's stupid, yeah.
Pacific Rim is stupid.
Yeah.
But there's a new one coming out, and I'm totally gonna go see it.
Yeah. That's and the other side of that question is, I don't think digital sculpture is ever gonna replace tables, and like, if we look at because furniture making and even art furniture making or artistic furniture, that's been around for forever as well. I mean.
And handmade furniture now is like revered even more.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. It's like, that's because we do live in an industrial age, and you can get one for $20, that came out of a factory, or this artisan that made it himself for $500,000, because no one does that anymore, right?
Right.
But I don't see, like, in that sort of thing, I don't see digital. It's kind of hard to replace that, because there you have a melding of different materials. You have steel, you have wood. Just glass in a lot of cases, just a lot of different things that I think digitally it would be very hard to replicate. I don't see anybody 3D printing wood.
Well, actually,
glass.
Actually, you can.
You can 3D print wood?
You can.
That's insanity. Okay, well, never mind.
You can 3D print. You can 3D print wood. You can 3D print clay. Actually, there's this really cool 3D printable clay material, and then people use it to typically print like a quick buck, and then they'll sculpt over top of that.
That's cool.
And you can 3D print some other stuff, like, there's that pizza 3D print. Essentially, it's a pizza machine, a little kiosk, and it, like, essentially prints your pizza.
That's awesome.
I don't know how good they are, but...
Yeah, it's still awesome. Okay, well, never mind. I'm totally wrong there.
Welcome to the future, Daryl.
I know, yeah. I'm living in
your
my
whole
rock.
argument has crumbled
I know,
beneath
it's
you.
fallen, yeah. No. I mean, I don't know, it's just...
I agree with you. I agree with you, though, that the separation line between those two things will never completely blur to where one is just completely overtaking the other. They're two separate.
Yeah, and when I say this, I'm talking specifically about art, because I don't want to, because you could make the case, and I think the case has already been proven, actually. You can get machines to do a lot of things for you, automate a lot of things. So not necessarily digital, but in the terms of automation, machines can replicate a lot of basic things, even complicated things, millions of times over.
Like driving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so
waiting for that.
But the thing is that art is unique to humans in the sense that it's creativity. It's pulling something. It's consciousness. It's a elevation of consciousness, an elevated form of consciousness. Do I think digital stuff will ever replace that? I don't think so. But I'm probably wrong. In 100 years, I'm probably wrong.
We're wrong about most things.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, whatever the next thing that's after digital art, whatever that is.
Cloud art.
Yeah, cloud. That's the thing. Maybe eventually we'll just think of something we want to make, and a machine will make it for us. Or the web will make it for us. So I don't know. That could be a thing eventually. That'd be a scary day.
I welcome our robot overlord.
You do? Yeah, that's a big thing right now.
If you're listening right now, robot overlords, we humbly await your overtaking.
But yeah, no, that's a big thing right now.
What?
AI.
AI taking over? That's a big thing?
Yeah, Elon Musk is really afraid of it.
Oh, wow.
He's putting like millions upon millions of dollars into...
And Google's getting too smart, huh?
It's really funny. It's actually, it's Google. I think it might be Facebook, actually. Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg is really like a huge proponent of AI. And Elon Musk is like,
I've never trusted Mark. Mark. He's not trustworthy.
Yeah,
I've said it here first, so you guys heard it. So in 10 years, when the bubble pops, you heard it here.
Yeah, you heard it here on Art Anonymous.
And if it doesn't happen, we'll just edit this out later.
Yeah, we'll just redact it. And
Yeah.
no one will ever. I swear he said it.
You're not gonna remember this.
You misremember.
You'll go re-download and it'll be just completely gone.
Yeah, it'll be 20 minutes shorter.
So remember that 20 minutes we talked about Mark Zuckerberg?
That's a really good question, though. I really enjoy that question. And perhaps maybe one day. But, I don't know, you just got back from Italy, and you saw the stone sculptures. You saw them. The marble, beautiful granite.
Yeah, that's right. So I took a little bit over a week-long trip, went to Venice, Florence, and Rome, traveled by train, and stayed in just some Airbnbs along the way. But yeah, like I was saying to you earlier off of the recording, nothing, no picture you could ever take could ever put into perspective some of these things. I've seen tons of pictures of the Statue of David, but just seeing it in person is like, I didn't realize how big it was, and I didn't realize just how good it was, how amazing it is compared to the other sculptures of that time. It's literally mind-blowing. And then that's in Florence in the Galleria dell'Accademia, and then in Rome in Vatican City is St. Peter's Basilica, and holy crap, it was the most amazing thing I saw there. Although the Statue of David is like, it holds a special place in my heart, so they're like on the same level almost. But the St. Peter's Basilica is literally mind-boggling. It's huge. I literally can't even put into words how awe-striking it is. It's amazing.
Yeah, old buildings like that. We have a few around here in Cincinnati. Even a few replicates of like some buildings, and I think in Italy. I don't know what church that is. The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the movie. Do you know what church he sits on?
Oh, no, I don't.
Okay, well, that church is
Notre Dame. Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Is that the name of the church?
I don't know.
Yeah, I have no fucking idea. We'll just cut all
that ignorance.
Disney.
All that ignorance out. That's a lot of ignorance right there. Those buildings, they're especially. I took art history and taken a lot of art history, but specifically, I think it was prehistoric through Gothic. And Gothic art is about when the churches start making a huge play into art and what art is and where art is stored and stuff like that. And even the churches themselves become artworks, and before that as well. But the Gothic churches are like insane.
I would just stumble. I went there with my girlfriend, and we would just be walking around in like Venice, for instance, and just turn a corner down. First of all, Venice is like a fucking maze. It's ungodly, and you can't go anywhere without getting lost. We literally spent an hour just being lost in the heart of Venice.
Oh, really?
On a single middle section where you can't get off of it unless you find the two specific bridges that connect to it. So,
oh man,
you'd like turn a corner and you'd walk to the end of a hall or an alleyway, turn another corner, and it's just like water. You're like, oh, great,
this is good. I'll swim.
This is what I wanted. No. So, just walking around, you'd turn a corner and find an amazing church, and then you could just walk into it and be blown away by the amazing art that you saw.
Yeah, it's insanity. And what really strikes me is how old all of that is. That's really old stuff, and these people made, like you said, it's a huge church. Think about trying to make that without cranes, without things, without technology that we have today. It's insane because it's such a high level of craft and just art and architecture, and also they did it lacking all of these things that we have today. And then I feel like today we make buildings and they're just like, meh. Like nothing.
Well, they serve function.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Yeah, that just, I don't know, it's really beautiful, and I'm really happy to see something that's like, yeah, like, we're going to make this church, it's going to be the most amazing building you've ever seen in your entire life.
It's an art form that's almost non-existent today anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they have a reason, though. It's because they want power, and, well, the church held a lot of power back in that day. And also, the art transcribed a lot of the stories to people because they couldn't read. Literacy was low. So they would just look at the artwork and they could understand the gospel without having to necessarily read the Bible. And then also like a power thing, you know.
Look what we can do.
Yeah, this is like, you dare challenge us, like, look at this thing, like, this is very godly, very above you feeling, which...
It definitely felt above me.
That's what you get. Yeah, you walk in and it just feels, I mean, like old Catholic churches, you walk in and you just feel like that, like awesomeness. I don't know how to explain it. Just just
speechless
the atmosphere. And it's just, that's like, they captured it, they found a way to do it, they captured it, and then like, I've never been to Italy, so I can't even imagine how gorgeous and beautiful all that stuff is, because, man, that's like where it all is. That's the center of it.
Like I said, pictures literally give it no justice. It's completely different, which like you said, those old art forms are, I think, always going to exist for that same reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Statue of David, that was sculpted. Who sculpted that?
Michelangelo.
When he was 24, I think.
I'm not positive. I think he was
24 or 26.
Okay.
I'm gonna look it up.
There's actually a really interesting story about why, while Michelangelo was sculpting the statue of David, while he would continue to walk from his home to where he was sculpting David, on the way there, he would continually get stopped by this guy, supposedly, and he would always talk to him for a really long time, and Michelangelo got really fed up with it, and it kept happening, and eventually, the story goes that one of the times that he was talking to him, he leaned up against a wall and chiseled his likeness behind his back of the guy he was talking to. Which isn't true, but there's actually a little piece of graffiti on the side of this building in downtown Florence, Italy. And everybody walks right past it, but I had looked it up online previously and I knew where it was and I found it and we went and checked it out, and it's just up on the wall there, a little face from a profile view. It's it's by Michelangelo.
That's awesome.
You know, according to the stories and everything.
That's
crazy. It's really cool, and everybody's just walking right past it.
Yeah, they don't know.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
He was 26.
26 years old.
Michelangelo was only 26, but he was already famous.
Asshole. He was already an asshole, is what you meant to say.
Yeah, that's insane. Can you imagine? Like, I'm 24.
Yeah, I'm
nowhere near him.
Yeah, I'm still a babbling idiot.
Yeah, seriously. How big is the Statue of David? It's huge.
It's not ginormous or anything. It's probably compared to me, I guess I would say maybe 3 of me, so like 18-ish feet tall.
That's ginormous.
Okay.
No, I'm just trying to sculpt I'm trying to sculpt stone, 18 feet tall. Man, how did he... Can you imagine?
Scaffolding, I guess.
Yeah, well, definitely scaffolding.
It's, 17 feet tall. I was off by 1.
Dude, nice. I just can't imagine getting that block, that 18-foot tall block. I'm sure probably not 18 feet, but I'm sure he had some wiggle room he gave himself.
It's pretty crazy.
But yeah, just a rectangle, he just chiseled away. See, that's insanity. That's why no one does that today. It's
insanity.
That reason, yeah. They're just like, why would I ever do that?
Say your insanity thing again.
My insanity?
Yeah, that's insanity.
Oh, okay. That's insanity.
Okay. So I was listening. We're cutting out all of my coughing, and I'm probably doing a really shitty job of cutting out all my coughing. Like I said, I have a cold, so I'm coughing up a fucking storm. But anyway, there's this story that I was listening to, or not a story, just a talk by this psychologist, and he was talking about essentially, why are there these crazy people that, he said crazy men, but I'm going to say crazy people, that are willing to work 12, 20, however many hours a day to strive towards this one goal, and it's literally insanity. But what is it in a person that causes them to want to be so bold or insane? I mean, I feel like I have a lot of drive as a person, but I don't feel like I have Michelangelo drive.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't. I think Michelangelo was definitely gifted. He was definitely above what average people. He was imparted with something that most people don't have, and I think he did work really, really, really hard, obviously, and painstakingly and insanely to master that. But I don't think if I put in as much time as Michelangelo did, I would ever be as good as Michelangelo. I just, just like you have Einstein and then all the other physicists, you know what I mean? You have specific people which rise to the top just because they're just innately better. And they work very, very hard and always work and never stop working.
You get that nice combination of the people that are more attuned to that specific thing, and they also...
Yeah. And those people are always
crazy.
Yeah, and those people are always the best, because that's what... You hear a lot about, like, people who are very gifted, and then just sort of waste it and don't do anything with it. It's pretty common. I don't know, like, I'm sure there's a lot of fields which this pertains to, but the one that I hear most frequently is, like, with athletes. I even have a friend personally who was a very gifted athlete, very just strong, just naturally strong. It didn't work out, twice, 3 times a week, but he could leg press like 1,000 pounds.
What?
Yeah, like he was just built like a truck.
Dang.
But he didn't really apply himself too much, and it never really went anywhere. Had he applied, and then I have a friend who was he was good at sports, and he was definitely a gifted athlete, but he worked really, 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 really hard, but he just wasn't quite as good as some other people, and he tried really hard, but it didn't work out, so now he's doing some other stuff. And you get that a lot. You get the people who like really, really want it, but for whatever reason, there's just other people who are just a little bit better, who get like the things that they are trying to get.
The stars align.
Yeah, and then you have the people who are really, really talented, but they're just sort of like meh. And it's but when you get that combination of like driven to the point of insanity and also like just insanely good to begin with, it's like then you have Michelangelo or Albert Einstein or
whoever.
Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci,
Daryl Flynn.
No, probably not me. I'm gonna try though. I have that. We were saying that what drives people to work 10, 12 hours a day, and I was like, I don't know. But I was thinking about it, and like over this whole semester, I worked 12 hours a day. I mean, I wouldn't say I worked 12 hours straight. You know what I mean? Probably like around 10 hours.
Boys gotta eat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you gotta goof off every now and then, but like, I would be at the studio for 12 hours a day.
Yeah. And
that didn't seem odd to me. Like, that didn't feel like I was missing out or anything. In fact, if I left the studio, I was like, I gotta get back to the studio. Like, my sculpture's waiting. And I made some pretty good, decent sculptures. I mean, like, I don't think they're amazing, but my exhibition went really well, in my opinion. Went well for me. My personal requirements for success, I met those. So yeah, I mean, like, it definitely paid off, but no one was in there going, that's the next Michelangelo. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah, no.
Since I got back from Italy, I've been waking up at like 5 a.m. just because my internal clock, circadian rhythm, whatever, is just totally screwed up, jet lag, whatever you want to call it. So I've been going to bed at like last night I stayed up till 11 p.m. and I thought my brain was literally going to fall out of my ear. Like I felt like I was gonna die. And the night before I went to bed at 7 p.m.
Oh man.
It was 6:30 and I was sitting in here sculpting and like my head was just rocking back and forth. So last night I went to bed at like 10:30 or 11 or whatever I said. And
whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm totally out of it right now. It's way past my bedtime.
Yeah.
It's like 2 p.m.
No wonder you said earlier better,
Yeah, right.
Like, okay.
Yeah, when you asked when
I
do you want to
didn't think about
record, I was like, the earlier the better.
Yeah, 5
That
minutes
was
ago.
why I said that. That's the exact same reason. But yeah, since I've been waking up at 5 a.m., I've been getting a ton of early morning sculpting done. So by the time it's noon, I'm like, wow, I've gotten so much done today already.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I have the whole rest of the half of the day to
Yeah.
sit and sculpt as well. So I'm actually kind of enjoying my off schedule-ness, and I'm gonna try to keep it in line as much as I can. For a while there, I went through this phase when I was at my old apartment where I just decided that I didn't need to sleep too much anymore. So I tried to do. I can't remember. I think it was like Thomas Edison who used to like have this strange sleep pattern of sleeping like every few hours or something. But instead of I can't remember the terms anymore. But most people sleep for like one long period and then they're awake for a long period and sometimes maybe take a nap. And then there's people that sleep in two segments, which is essentially what I did, but without the second part. So
Without
I
the
just
second
tried to
segment.
sleep for 4 hours a night, and I did that for a couple months, and then I literally couldn't stay awake at work anymore, and I had to stop. So sleep's important.
Sleep's
kids.
very important.
Sleep
Yeah.
sleep
Get
is
all your
very
sleep.
important. Supposedly, according to studies, sleep makes the more you sleep, the more intelligent you become.
Really?
Yeah, cool.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Does it?
Makes sense. Yeah, I think sleep. Yeah, definitely. But it's interesting that you said that because I've heard of that. Back in the day, like humans' natural sleep cycle was to go to sleep for like 4 to 6 hours, wake up for like an hour and a half, and then go back to bed for another couple hours, and then then wake up and enjoy the rest of the day or start the rest of your day. And I heard somewhere, and this is a friend who told me this, so I haven't delved into the research on it. So
Haven't Googled it.
yeah, exactly. I don't know how accurate this is, but I have heard that like period was known as like the creative period or like the artist's period in the night when you'd wake up and you'd just be like, I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but like you'll wake up and be like, oh, like have inspiration for something.
Absolutely. I keep my Evernote on my phone open by my bed, and I'll like wake up in the middle of the night. Like, no joke, one of the best things that you can do if you want to like try to improve your creativity and try to practice creativity more, keep a notepad by your bedside or your phone with a note document open. Whatever you need to do that, and you'll come up with a billion ideas.
Yeah, and that's like writers apparently wrote about how in this hour, like they would get a lot of their inspiration, or a lot of their ideas, and artists and things of that
You're
sort.
most productive in the morning, from what I've heard.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because, well, with modernization, you can stay up however late you want, and and we are like pushing. Well, we have pushed obviously towards the more get your full 8. Don't get up until you get your full 8. Like, stay in bed until you sleep enough.
Honestly, I totally think that it's not great for us.
What?
But like having TV and computers.
Oh, yeah,
and
exactly, yeah.
That's why there's applications now that reduce blue light and stuff to help you sleep better and not have such erratic sleep.
Yeah. This Sarah, my fiance, has an alarm on her phone. I think it goes off at like 8:30. Or 8:45, and that is supposed to be our signifier. Like, okay, we can't look at screens anymore for the rest of the night because we won't be able to sleep, and we go to bed at like 10:30. So we like, okay, stop getting on the phone, stop looking at TV, time to read or whatever. Just because it really interferes with your sleep, and which interferes with your life, as you know. I just like you said, you slept for 4 hours a night for months, and there's been plenty of times where I have 6 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep, get up, I would get up at 8 in the morning, get home at 2 o'clock in the morning, go to sleep, wake up at 8 in the morning, go back to school, get home again at 2 o'clock in the morning, and just all of that process. After a couple weeks, it's just like, I can't do anything. I can't sculpt, really. I would just notice I'm not even looking at my sculpture when I'm sculpting. I'm just doing the motions, and then I have to pull myself back, and I need to actually get some rest. That's a huge thing, not even just with your skill, but also if your mind is dead, you can't think of new things.
You have to rest. Rest is so important, and honestly, I'm really bad at not bad at rest. I'm pretty good at getting rest when I need it, but I'm really bad at like sitting 6 inches away from my computer monitor into the late hours and then immediately going to bed after that. And most of the time I can fall asleep pretty quick, but well, right now I can fall asleep pretty quick because I'm always freaking zonked out, like I said, at like 7 p.m. But sometimes, you know, if I go immediately from the computer straight to my bed, I'm like, let me just lay here for the next 3 hours.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I've had the same thing back in high school and like a little bit in college when I used to animate and model. You know, that's what I would do when I would get home and like late at night, like, oh, okay, like, you know, it's 11:30, 12 on a Friday, like I'll sculpt whatever, or learn how to sculpt a new thing in Blender or whatever, and yeah, then I'd try to go to bed and then I'd be awake until 4 o'clock in the morning because it just like anything else, you got to pull away from it early enough. I don't know, like, if you've ever worked late and then got off and then, like, try to go to bed when you get home, that's not going to happen. Like, it's just not.
I'm not sure if I've talked about this before on the recording, but there's this idea that rest as a pendulum, essentially. So the more you rest, the more you, like, pull back on that pendulum. And I'm visualizing this, I'm illustrating this for Daryl of me pulling back a pendulum. And the more you rest, like, the more you pull back on that pendulum and the more it can swing into your day or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah,
and the less you rest, the less that pendulum swings forward on whatever you're going to attempt to accomplish after that.
Exactly, yeah. You have to start with a good amount of momentum, or a capability to build up the momentum, instead of, you know, working for a couple hours and being exhausted. Well,
right. Which is why Sunday is the first day of the week.
Yeah.
Sunday is like supposed to be, you know, it's the weekend. It's the 2 days of rest that we're supposed to get, but you know, I always end up getting some work in on Saturday and Sunday for sure. But it's always, I think it's good. I try to keep Saturday, for me, that's supposed to be like my day to kind of just step away from work, and I try as I might, a lot of the time, you know, it always yoinks me back in.
And that's the way I think the art world is. And I think that's one thing that people need to be considerate of if they decide they want to really pursue art. And another thing is, you know, I just graduated.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, I got my BFA in ceramics.
When's the ceremony?
Oh, I'm not going to the ceremony.
Oh,
I just
screw the ceremony.
Yeah, well, I had the show.
Just give me that paper.
Yeah. Well, I had the exhibition, and the exhibition, you know, got to give an artist talk and answer questions, and you know, there's I'd say about 400 to 500 people there.
Wow.
Throughout the whole night, not like the opening, but really a large amount of people, and that really accomplished. That was, you know, that's what I went to school to do, and not to walk across the stage. You know, one of my professors very recently said, you know, art, when you're getting a degree in art, unlike other jobs, and we've talked about this, there's no guarantee of getting a job afterwards. There's no expectation that you're going to have a job. And so what he was saying, Stephen was saying, he's like, you know, most artists that I know have two jobs, one that pays consistently and one that doesn't. And he's saying the one that doesn't being the art making and stuff like that. And if you get lucky enough where your job is to make art, you know, really good artists do, or sometimes just really lucky people do, you know, that's amazing. But I think it's important to understand that the norm for most people is you might be able to try to get an art-related job if you really, really, like...
There's not many of them.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, there's not a lot of them. And then, you know, you make art on your downtime. So, like, it is a job. It's definitely a job. It's definitely a lot of work. But unfortunately, it's not one that people like to pay you to do. They like to pay for the product once it's finished, if that makes sense. And that's not even always the case. But yeah, people don't... You know, some people will commission and then pay you throughout the year for whatever amount of time that you need to make the work.
So you were talking about your art show there a little bit. Talk about that a little bit more, because last time we spoke, it hadn't occurred yet, and I was just about to leave for Italy. Mm-hmm. And actually, the day that I was leaving, it was like 1 p.m., and I was like, I need to be at the airport at 3. I have a couple hours, and I was like driving to go grab like Chipotle or something. Mm-hmm. And I was like, maybe I should just swing by the school real quick, and like, I don't know if Daryl's there setting up or what, but yeah, talk about your show though.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Oh, okay, yeah. It went really well. It definitely talked to the people that I wanted to talk to, you know. When I said earlier in the episode that it was successful to me personally, my personal definition of success is because, you know, my show focused on depression, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, but just trying to visualize what depression is and, like, this interaction between this abstracted figure and this figure which represents the person who's afflicted with it. When, you know, the show opened, I talked about my show and talked about what I was going, made a crappy joke, and...
What was the joke?
Well, David said... maybe David Knight, our gallery director, introduced me before my talk. And then I went up there and I was like, oh, as David just said, my name's Gerald Flynn, graduating with my BFA, focus in ceramics. And I was like, that's just a fancy way of saying I like to play with dirt.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
I dig it.
And yeah, then I continued and talked about it. And
one person in the audience chuckled.
It was
me. I was on the way back.
It got a pretty good response, but I was just like, oh yeah, crappy joke, you know. Generic joke, enter.
How long did it take you to come up with that one? Just out of curiosity.
14 seconds. I started a timer. No. But afterwards, you know, this woman, after all the talks were finished, this woman came up to me and she said she was really interested in looking at my work. My work we have two galleries, a larger gallery and a small gallery. My work was in the smaller gallery. Mm-hmm. And so she said, you know, I haven't had a chance to go over there yet. I'd like to look at your work. So we went over to the other gallery. She looked at it, she started crying, and she was like, you know, she said, like, this is really amazing and beautiful, and, like, you really are showing, like, I can feel what you're trying to say, which is really great and awesome, and she loved it. And then I had another woman come up to me a little bit later in the night, and she was like, oh, this is my husband's favorite exhibition, blah, 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 and then she pulled him in, and he was like, oh, like, I've struggled with depression my whole life. I've never known how to talk about it. I've never known how to explain it to people. And he was like, but this is it. And then he started pointing to my pieces and, like, being like, how you feel like you can't talk to anybody, but you want to, but you feel isolated and feel like it's, like, kind of pulling you back into yourself and all this stuff. And, like, really, like, the more nuanced ideas and concepts that I was trying to show in my artwork. And I want to make it clear, those nuanced ideas were not actually in the artwork, but it was actually left to the viewer to imagine, not necessarily imagine, but to sort of finish the work, what was behind the wall, because they were wall pieces. And he's just started explaining exactly what the piece was about. And then he pointed to another piece and started explaining exactly what the piece was about.
That's awesome, man.
And I was like, that's exactly what I wanted. I was like, okay, like, you know, the people I wanted to talk to were the people who didn't understand it and the people that are going through it, just to sort of affirm their feelings, but also on the other people, you know, sort of give them this experience so they can feel it themselves, so they can understand it. And the whole reason for it was just to understand what it is a little bit better so people can get help for it, what they're going through. And just so we can talk about it and normalize it a little bit more. But yeah, so after that I felt like really great. It was a great success. I had some people come up that they were interested in purchasing.
I was gonna say, so what do you do with the art after the show?
Yeah, right now it's in our guest room.
But I was gonna make a joke with the woman that you were talking about, the first woman that came in and said she was crying, and then I was gonna say, like, oh, and then she bought them all. Like,
yeah, that'd be nice.
So you sell the pieces?
They were for sale, but generally you have like a sale sheet, and I didn't put one up. Just because I was like, if people want to buy these, they'll come and talk to me. Right. Yeah, I didn't want to like take away from the show from adding that like capitalistic part, which, you know, it's important because that's how artists live, right? You have to sell
how
your
most
work.
people live with the money stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, I was like, what I'm doing here is creating an experience, and I don't want to pull people out of it by being like, and here's if you want to buy something. But a woman did approach me later, and she was like, oh, like, I love these pieces and thinking about buying them, and but
them?
she just
like as in all of them.
No, just two.
Okay.
But wanted to. She really loved the work, but then she was like, but it's just too personal to you, and like I don't want to take them away from you, which I understood, and also like it was very personal, just meaning behind the work. So I get it. Like it was very heavy concepts, and if you don't want to put that in your house, I 100% understand that. So I'm gonna apply to shows and exhibitions, and maybe it would make more sense for a gallery director to buy it than for
Okay.
an individual to buy it to hang in their private collection.
So when a gallery director buys your art, do they like buy the exclusive rights? Like, do they own your art now, and then they show it for however long, or how does that work?
So yeah, they own that piece that they buy, and they can do whatever they want with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they show it off for like a month, and then they throw it away.
They could do that. Usually, it's in galleries or museums, permanent collections. They do like show it, put it away for a while, bring in new stuff, and then they'll bring it back out. Let's say if there's a lapse in some stuff.
That's pretty interesting.
And I'm not super duper hopeful that stuff's gonna sell. Like, I'm really not. It's in my guest bedroom right now at my house, sort of sitting there. It was really interesting. You put up all the stuff and like try to display it perfectly, but then once it's done, you just sort of shove it in a box somewhere.
in a closet.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's sculpture. You got to do something with it.
Right.
It's not like you can close the tab, But that's, or even drawing people, just stack each one on top of each other.
Yeah.
I'm really not hopeful that they're gonna sell. And some people would say like, oh, well, be optimistic and stuff like that. But honestly, like, a bachelor's degree in fine arts, while it's impressive, it's not like super impressive. It's not. It's the first step.
Yeah, you're just getting started.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think a museum or a gallery would really buy those pieces. Really, you'd have to be someone who's been an artist for 15, 20 years. Generally.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine a museum ever buying any of my art. Well, actually, that's not entirely true because I have done work for museums before, but like the Museum of Flight in Chicago, like I was a part of a team that sculpted coughs. I sculpted coughs.
Very abstract.
I was a part of a team that sculpted pilots for
those.
this museum. Yeah, and that was a lot of fun, and that was a big project. So, but I couldn't imagine like me working on some personal work or working on something with the intent of just a museum coming along and being like, we would like to display your work.
Yeah.
That seems pretty crazy.
It is. Yeah, it's insane. Right now, my professor Anna has a show up at the art museum.
Right.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. I looked it up actually. She's
Really?
got some cool stuff. A lot of really interesting work.
Yeah, super awesome.
A lot of different materials and.
It's actually mostly ceramic. Yeah.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's just really good at surface decoration, surface techniques. She has some pieces which are wood, but just a couple. But she does a lot of different ways to make the ceramic look really different.
Okay.
Which is really cool. But she sold like a good number of those pieces already, either to private collectors or I think the museum wanted to buy one piece. I'm not sure exactly on that. This is one of the like drawbacks I think to art making, especially like fine art with a capital FA, like just like what you picture fine art, like the Statue of David, right?
Right.
It's just so hard to sell that. It's really, really hard. And of course, if you love it, like you can try, but it's really, really hard. It's such a thing that like
You got to be the best.
you have to be the best, or you have to know people.
Or you have to,
Yeah.
you got to find the right people that are going to pay for it.
Exactly, and it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of like connecting, and just a lot of things that isn't making the artwork goes into trying to sell a lot of your work.
I remember you talking to me earlier this year or last year, I can't remember when, about some guy that had commissioned you to create some sculptures. Did you ever cash in on that?
I haven't finished the sculptures.
Okay.
The first one I made broke.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Holy
it's
crap.
Annoying. It's annoying.
What happened?
It's okay. Clay. Sometimes it cracks.
Just
and breaks.
clay.
Yeah, it's ceramic just breaks sometimes. I mean, it was probably my fault, whatever the building thing is, but also the clay we used at our studio. It was just something was in it this semester. I don't know what, but a lot of people had cracking issues.
Really?
A lot of breaking issues.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah. But that's fine. I'm gonna remake them now. Now that I have a lot more time, I'm gonna start making those.
Yeah, actually, that was where my next question was leading. What's next after your show? You're done with all your classes, right? Are you completely done with classes now? Okay.
Yeah. I just need to fix some gallery. I have to like do some patching of walls for the gallery, but then I'll be done. Nothing like a class.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you that you're like done with school now.
Yeah.
It seems like it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
I've known Daryl
5
for a
years.
while now, and I remember Daryl when you took like a semester off, and I was like, no, don't do that. Don't take a semester off. Or was there a time where you took 2 semesters off in a row? Or I can't remember, but I remember you've taken like a couple breaks here and there, and I'm like, I know it's like tough with money and everything, and fucking school's expensive as hell, but like it's rough when you take a break and try to get back into it. It's hard, but like now that you're done, it's like,
yeah, dude, it's really nice.
It's awesome. It's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. To answer your previous question, what's next? That's the big thing, and like that's the big thing that like I thought I would feel worse about. Like, I thought I would be freaking out right now.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know. Need to get a studio space somewhere. But first, I need to get a job which can pay for me to have a studio space.
Okay.
So, there's just a couple jobs, a couple places I've been thinking about looking at.
Scoping out.
The really annoying thing right now for me specifically in my specific situation, which probably doesn't apply to many people, is that I'm going to be moving in like a year and a half.
Yeah.
To the West Coast. Mm-hmm. So, like, I can't get a real job. I can get a real job, but I can't get, like, a very specific, awesome job that I want, like, to teach or something, because I'll be leaving in a year and a half.
Right.
And, like, I don't want to start something and then, like, really love it and then be like, okay, see you later.
Right.
But I also just don't want to go down to Chipotle and get a job cooking there, like, because now I have my bachelor's, right?
Yeah.
So, somewhere in the middle. I was thinking about actually going over to LF and applying there again, because I applied there once and they liked my stuff, but I was in school still. And then there's Applied Imaginations. There's certain jobs around the area. They don't pay great, but they allow you to have access to the studio, to the mediums, or allow you to still be creative in some form or facet. And really, I'm not in a hurry because, like Ben said, I took some breaks so I didn't have to take out loans for school.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, and I highly recommend if you're getting an art degree, do not take out loans.
Yeah.
Because there's no guarantee that you'll get a job that pays over $12 an hour once you graduate.
Honestly, if you can somehow get through school without taking out loans, like, so much power to you.
Yeah, and I mean it's really hard, and that's why I think I took a year off in total, maybe a year and a half. And it's really, like you said, people take breaks and then they never go back.
Right.
And you just have to make sure you're driven enough and have to know that you want it bad enough. I didn't want to take the break. That's the thing. It's like I was but I was out of money. I had like $12 in my bank account. There's no way. So I took the break begrudgingly, and I worked really hard at some crappy job, 40 hours a week. In some instances, I worked 2 jobs and went to school full time at the same time, just to make it happen. And it took longer, and it was a lot harder. But now that I'm done, what I don't have is, I gotta get a job now, And what I do have is, I can take my time, look around, scope out some stuff. If need be, get a crappy job somewhere. I'm not above that,
Yeah. I've worked plenty of crappy jobs, so I'm definitely
sometimes
not
together.
Yeah, sometimes together. I'm definitely not above having a crappy job.
But yeah, I mean, really, all college is just preparing you to think critically and preparing you to do what you want to do. And like, I'm really glad I got the degree I got. Really happy with it. A lot of people.
I think that's the right outlook to have. I think what you're about to say is that a lot of people think that college is a ticket to a job, which it's not.
Yeah,
it's definitely not.
Yeah, it's in some cases it is, but like I don't think it should be. I don't think unless like you're really really happy with what you're doing. Like don't go to school to get a business degree and then 20 years later, or not even 20, like 5 years later, be like, oh man, I didn't realize that. Got this business degree and really I can't really. Because I don't love business so much, I just thought it would give me a good job, and it really didn't. Like, yeah, there's no, like, you graduate, and then the college is like, and here's 50 job offers. Like,
unless you go to DAP.
Yeah.
Because they, like, have 100% placement. There's a lot of schools that will help you out.
Yeah. NKU definitely helps out with that as well. But, like, the BFAs in traditional art forms, it's hard to get a placement, quote-unquote, job. Graphic design, that's different. That the firms will hire you to do that. Companies need graphic designers because there's always things that need graphically created, especially in today's digital age. No one really needs a ceramicist, but that's fine. I don't care. I mean, I'm gonna make pottery, gonna try and sell that online, get into shows, sell
that's
work
awesome.
online.
Open up some Etsy shops or something.
Actually, tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to start open up an Etsy. Maybe start looking into that. Start listening to some pottery.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck to you
Thanks,
in your future endeavors and everything else. But I think that's a good place to chop it off.
Yeah.
If you have an artist you want to recommend, I got one. that I want to shout out here. It's the concept that I'm working off of right now is by an artist by the name of Zeronis. I do not know his actual name. I checked on his ArtStation About page and it's not listed. I've followed him for a long time. I think he works for Riot Games. I think they make League of Legends, right?
League of Legends, yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
he's
awesome.
he's obviously a very good artist. He's a 2D artist, but he makes a ton of awesome concepts of all sorts of stuff. And some really cool fan art, which is what I'm working off of right now. But yes, Zeronis, Zeronis. I think I actually have no idea how you say it. Maybe it's Zeronis. Who knows?
Zeroness, yeah.
Oh, maybe. Now that you say it, I kind of like it a little bit more.
Yeah, well, you're probably right. No, artist. I don't really have an artist today. I didn't think about it, so I kind of drawn a blank.
No, that's okay.
Sorry, guys. No traditional artist today.
I thought ahead. Well,
Yeah.
basically, I'm working off today. For the past few days, I've been working off of this concept, so
That's awesome.
it's
yeah.
easy for me to kind of
That's
draw one.
it's looking great, by the way.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Got some more work to do, but we'll get there. And then on to the next thing,
Yeah,
which will be talked about later.
yeah. But I guess that concludes our Art Anonymous session.
Yeah. The
Thanks for
spirit of
joining
Art
us.
Anonymous is leaving us. That
Yeah.
means it's time to cut it. And also,
Time to
I
cut
need to cough my brains out.
Yeah, and then go to sleep.
and then go to sleep, right? Yes. Woo! Ben's been coughing this whole time, and I've edited out every single cough.
Perfectly.
Except for those last few ones. Those
Yeah.
are the only ones we'll leave in. All
Yeah.
the other ones, though, cut for sure, 100%. All right. With that, we'll see you in the next one. See you
yeah,
guys.
man. See you guys. I feel like I'm okay.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, this is Business Brad. Today's episode of Art Anonymous was produced, recorded, and published by the artists you heard. Today, instead of going over Roth IRAs, as I suggested, it seems as though the artist talked more about art and its future. Well, if you enjoyed today's episode, please let us know by liking and commenting and subscribing and all that good stuff. Thank you for listening to Art Anonymous. Hey Ben, I'm gonna fax you the details of our health insurance plan so you can get that cough looked at. Alright? I'll just get to the reports after that. Okay.